Behind every laugh, there's often a secret, and behind every stumble, a story waiting to be told. Fact 1.
As my mother said, it takes one to tell one.
Frank Spencer may have looked like a fool on screen, but Michael Crawford was fearless behind the scenes. He refused to use stunt doubles, believing comedy worked best when danger was real. Producers were horrified and begged him to reconsider, but Crawford would not bend. Insurance companies even refused to cover him because the risks were too high. At home, he practiced crashes and tumbles until his body ached. He once strapped himself to his own car in preparation for a dangerous scene. Neighbours thought he had completely lost his mind. On set, he dangled from moving vehicles, hung from buses, and climbed rooftops with no safety nets. His dedication shocked the crew, but thrilled audiences. Crawford explained that laughter only came when the danger felt authentic. Every slip and fall carried real peril, and viewers sensed it. When he dangled from a speeding car bonnet, nothing was staged. Producers held their breath in fear, but the result was unforgettable. That risk-taking turned Frank Spencer into a true television legend.
Sorry, but you've got something hanging down.
I'm a married man.
Fact 2.
Why are you carrying a clock?
My watch has stopped.
The role of Frank Spencer was never meant for Michael Crawford at first. The writers had Ronnie Barker in mind, but he turned it down immediately. Barker thought Frank was too strange to connect with audiences. Norman Wisdom was then suggested, as he was known for slapstick humour. Even Richard O'Sullivan was briefly considered during early talks. Yet none of them felt quite right for the part. When Crawford auditioned, everything changed instantly. His nervous charm and awkward movements gave Frank a unique innocence. The writers saw it immediately and knew he was perfect. BBC executives were unsure, fearing viewers would find Frank annoying. They worried that his squeaky voice and constant disasters would irritate rather than amuse. But they eventually took the gamble. From the very first episode, audiences loved him. Crawford's performance proved that Frank Spencer was one of television's most unforgettable fools. Fact 3.
Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better.
Frank Spencer's voice was not written into the script, but invented by Michael Crawford. He based it on a childhood neighbour who spoke with a nervous squeak. Crawford exaggerated it, adding gasps, stammers and mutters for comic effect. The now famous "Ooh, Betty" was part of that creation. At first, BBC bosses thought the voice sounded too ridiculous. They asked him to tone it down, but Crawford refused. He argued Frank needed a sound as unique as his behaviour. The producers finally allowed it, and the audience response was immediate. Children copied it in playgrounds, shouting "Ooh, Betty" endlessly. Adults mimicked it in offices, turning it into a national catchphrase. Crawford admitted it was difficult to maintain during filming. Sometimes he had to stay in character off camera, just to keep the voice steady. Without the peculiar squeak, Frank would not have been the same. That voice became one of the great signatures of British comedy.
Are you really Frank? Yes, I am. I've a good mind to send you back to Africa.
Fact 4.
You can't even get them out!
You didn't tell me I had to get them out.
The roller skating stunt remains one of the most famous moments in British sitcom history. It shows Frank hurtling down a hill, arms flailing, traffic speeding past. What many forget is that it was done completely for real. Crawford trained secretly in roller rinks to prepare for the scene. He learned how to fall safely, how to roll out of danger, and how to control the chaos. The sequence was filmed on real streets with cars and buses timed to the second. If one vehicle missed its mark, disaster could have struck. Crawford admitted he was terrified but refused to let anyone else perform it. His arms waved helplessly, but he kept his balance until the end. The danger was real and the audience could sense it. The scene became the defining image of the series. It has been replayed in countless documentaries and retrospectives. Even today, it is cited as one of television's greatest comic stunts. That single moment cemented Frank Spencer's place in history.
The day we got married and you carried me over the threshold.
Fact 5.
Television people want to come here and see all my work.
Not everyone believed the show was a masterpiece when it first aired. Some critics dismissed it as childish and far too silly. They complained it lacked the sophistication of other BBC comedies. Yet families across Britain thought differently. Parents, children and grandparents gathered to watch together every week. Kids adored Frank's clumsy chaos and wild expressions. Adults laughed at the absurd disasters that somehow kept escalating. The BBC soon received piles of letters from devoted fans. Many wrote passionately about how the show brightened their homes. Some praised its innocence in contrast to darker comedies of the time. Over the years, even critics softened their stance. They began to admit the slapstick was finely crafted and brilliantly executed. Crawford's physical comedy was suddenly seen as an art form, and Frank Spencer became celebrated as one of television's true national treasures. Fact 6.
Hello? Dr. Smedley? It's Mrs. Spencer. Can I see you today?
Every comic whirlwind needs balance, and Betty provided it. Played by Michelle Dautrice, she became the calm centre of the storm. Her role was vital, because without her, Frank would have been unbearable. Betty gave the series warmth, stability, and heart. Dautrice often struggled not to laugh during Crawford's unpredictable improvisations. Many takes collapsed in giggles before a usable shot was captured. Yet her grounded performance gave the show emotional depth. Viewers adored Betty almost as much as Frank. Letters poured in praising her loyalty and patience. Some fans even asked how she could survive life with such a man. Dautrice joked that she deserved a medal for her endurance, but she also admitted she loved the challenge of playing Betty. To audiences, she was the anchor that held Frank together. Without Betty, Frank Spencer's chaos would never have been so endearing.
Oh, Frank, I didn't expect you back so soon.
Fact 7.
Want to do Frank first?
Yes, I'd like to do your husband first.
Michael Crawford wasn't the only one at risk during filming. The crew often faced real danger too. Stunts required cameras to be set up in hazardous positions. Vehicles had to miss equipment by mere inches. Once, a cameraman nearly got hit during a chase sequence. On another occasion, a set collapsed during rehearsals. Safety standards were stretched far beyond comfort. Budgets were tight and corners were cut to get the shot. Everyone trusted Crawford's timing and control to avoid disaster. He choreographed many dangerous moments himself with careful planning. Still, the danger was constant on set. Crew members later admitted it felt like madness, yet they also knew they were creating television gold. The risks taken behind the camera were as real as those on screen. Fact 8.
Oh, Betty, if you'd seen him in that police station, he was so frightened.
Some Mothers Do Avon was not only loved in Britain, but travelled the world. The BBC sold it to broadcasters in Australia, South Africa, and even the United States. Some of the British slang confused overseas audiences at first, but slapstick needs no translation, and everyone understood Frank's chaos. Children in other countries copied Ooh Betty, just like in Britain. Adults laughed at the pratfalls and nervous squeaks. Crawford even toured abroad, performing live in character for crowds. Audiences welcomed Frank like an old friend wherever he went. The show quickly built a global fan base. Ratings were strong across multiple continents. Frank Spencer became more than a British clown. He was embraced as a universal comic figure. Proof that laughter travels easily across borders, and proof that Frank's disasters were understood everywhere. Fact 9.
Does this timber have to go?
No, that's the bedroom floor.
Despite its popularity, the series ended much sooner than fans wanted. Only 3 full seasons were ever made. After that, a handful of specials were produced. Michael Crawford decided it was time to stop. He feared the character might grow stale if it continued too long. The BBC reluctantly agreed, although they knew viewers would be disappointed. Thousands of letters begged for more episodes, but Crawford stood firm. He wanted to pursue new challenges in theatre and musicals. He felt Frank had given him everything he could offer. The decision frustrated fans but preserved the magic. Every episode became more precious because of its rarity. There were no weak seasons or drawn-out storylines. Frank Spencer remained consistently funny from start to finish. Ending early helped the show stay timeless. Fact 10.
It did, yes, and thank you for bringing it up again.
Decades later, Frank Spencer returned for a surprise revival. In 2016, Michael Crawford stepped back into the role once more. Fans wondered if he could still capture the magic. Amazingly, the voice and mannerisms were exactly the same. His nervous charm had not faded with time. Michelle Dautrice returned as Betty, standing loyally at his side. Viewers were delighted to see them together again. Younger audiences discovered Frank for the very first time. Older fans felt like they had been reunited with an old friend. Critics praised the comeback as joyful and nostalgic. Newspapers wrote about the warmth it brought to television. Even Crawford admitted he was surprised by the reaction. The character still worked after all those years. Frank Spencer proved he would never truly fall.